Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host, Johnny Hellcat, and with me tonight are Minions Sanguine.
Good evening, all.
And Terry Diamantis.
Hello.
How are you guys doing this evening?
I'm doing brilliantly. I just finished making a dish for the first time, and good God, does it taste fantastic.
Nice. Oh, that's always good.
How about you, Terry?
I am alright. I am at the annoying part of a game called Being a Dick. I have 97 out of 98 achievements, but I basically have to win almost the entire game twice to get the last two things I need for the final achievement. So it's going to be like a real slog just trying to get everything.
Yeah.
So that's irritating, but otherwise I'm fine.
And how are you doing, Johnny?
Not too bad. It's I was about to work on putting my calluses back on my fingers for my guitar, and
Nice.
then I'm like, oh, I got 20 minutes till I had to put the stream back on, so probably should stop doing this now and get on to what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Yep.
That, and I was trying to find backups as well, so.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so far it's been an alright day, with an exception of forgetting that my appointment is tomorrow and not tonight, or today. So tomorrow I have to wake up early, and yeah,
That's always rough.
get myself a CAT scan, and
Well, isn't every scan of you by default a CAT scan?
Yes, people have been making that joke quite a lot on Twitter.
yes.
It's just right there. Someone had to do it.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
Terry didn't jump on that grenade, so I was forced to.
Well, on Twitter, I said that if he's as sick as a dog, isn't this going to guarantee cartoon hijinks?
Yeah, time will tell. So,
Yes. Well, as long as you're not quiet as a mouse, because then it'll truly be bedlam.
well, then I should just name myself Thomas Jerry something.
Yeah. What was the dog's name? Like Spike or something?
Spike.
Yeah. Pretty sure. So
Yeah. It'd be Jerry Spike Thomas.
Yeah.
Would be my
Go Jerome, just to throw him off.
formal names of the.
Yes.
And you have to throw in like the third or fourth. It has to be some later number.
Yes.
Well, I could go Pope style and go the 14th.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Lord knows how many iterations of Tom and Jerry there have been since inception. So
That just reminded me of a thing I saw on Twitter where they're like, name 16 popes. It's like Benedict. I'm like, okay, I set the bar too low.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, long gone are the days where we had the interesting ones like Urban.
I'm not up on my pope names. I know that there was a lot of Benedicts, but I know there was a John Paul.
there's
Do you at least
John,
know about-
John Paul, and Benedict.
Do you at least know about the tri-papal period?
I'm not a history person, so some of it might start sounding familiar if you explain it, but that doesn't mean anything to me off the top of my head.
Tri-papal period is one of my favorite what the fuck Catholic Church moments in history. Because, effectively, the French went, well, why do the Italians always get the Pope? Fuck the Italians. We're going to make a Pope. In fact, we're going to kidnap the Italian Pope. We're going to make him a French Pope. And he's going to be the Pope of Avignon. So they kidnapped the Italian Pope. They made him the French Pope of Avignon. The Italians went, not cool, man, not cool, stealing our Pope. Fuck it. We have Rome, so we have a new Pope to replace the one that you took from us, bastards. And Germany went, So you're telling me that, or rather, the Holy Roman Empire at the time went, so you're telling me that those Frankish fucks and those namby-pamby little Italian sissy boys down in Rome each have fucking popes? Fuck it. Holy Roman Pope. What you gonna do? We have an empire. So there are 3 popes kicking around, each recognized by 3 of the largest and most prestigious Christian nations at the time. All of them going, yeah, suck my dick.
I bet that went swimmingly and caused zero conflict between those empires.
Oh, it was an absolute shit show in the most glorious of fashions. But I just love the fact that it started with just them going, why does that motherfucker get a pope and I don't have a pope? I have to just deal with their pope? Nah, fuck their pope.
Popes for everyone.
Eh?
You get a pope. You get a pope.
Exactly.
Rob Blagojevich is going to sell a seat to a pope.
That is the tri-papal period in a nutshell. The French, the Italians, and the Germans each going, man, fuck you guys.
So how did it end? Like, how did they decide, okay, we need to go back to having one?
I think it was the normal way that any sort of church issues like that end. Poisonings, and then there was a new pope name.
Fair enough.
We may have gotten a little carried away with the strychnine.
Because that is a very common papal reset approach. Just, okay, we're getting out of hand with the popes that we have right now, so if we poison them, then we just name a new pope and everything goes back how it should be. Good deal, let's fucking kill this pope.
So it wasn't someone shouting, will no one rid me of this turbulent priest?
No, that was before this event.
It's I only know that from Blackadder, where Edmund becomes the Archbishop of Canterbury and his father is explaining to his mother what happened to the last pope. And then these people overhear him and think he actually wants Edmund killed. So that's the plot for the episode.
I do love how the different iterations of the Blackadder keep on swinging massively back and forth between he is the dumbest man in the entire show to he is the most brilliant man in the entire show.
Well, he was only really stupid
in
in
the first one.
season.
He's definitely on the he is extraordinarily stupid. And
yes, he is.
In the second one, he's back in the intelligent end of the spectrum.
Yes. The third one, he's still pretty smart, though. Like, he's only a butler, so he's, like, lost a lot of prestige in his, like, position, but he's still the smartest character in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And even season 4, he's, like, a captain in the army, but, like, he's smarter than Melchett, he's smarter than George, he's smarter than Baldric, goes without saying. So it was only really the first season where he was like an idiot.
I guess it is just the first that he was an absolutely gormless fuck.
Yeah.
And then the later seasons, he got more intelligent, potentially progressively more intelligent. It might have been each iteration was slightly smarter.
I think so. I think basically they swapped the characters of Baldric and Blackadder, because in the first season, Baldric is actually intelligent. Yeah. Like, he's the one who gets Blackadder out of the tricky situations with his plans.
Mm-hmm.
And then they realized Tony Robinson was really good at playing a moron, and Rowan Atkinson was quite good at playing the sort of diabolical, scheming bastard.
Yeah, Rowan could go either way with extreme ease, it seems.
I definitely prefer his Blackadder to his Mr. Bean, though. Mr. Bean is, like, something he does pretty well, but he is much better at the Blackadder role, if you ask me.
The problem is Mr. Bean is off-putting, and part of the off-putting is an amusing off-putting. Part of it's just, man, I really don't feel comfortable looking at this man.
Yeah, they lost me at the movie.
Well, he started talking too much. Like in the TV show, I don't think he ever spoke except maybe one or two words.
Yeah, it was very rare.
And more often, it was just he made a sound that sounded vaguely like a word.
Yeah, but in the movie, like, I think they realized they couldn't have 90 minutes of a main character that doesn't talk. So they gave him dialogue, and it just ruined the character. It's not nearly as enjoyable as the TV show.
And I disagree. You can absolutely have a movie where the main character can't speak. But that's me disagreeing with them, not me disagreeing with your assessment.
Yeah. No, I think you can pull it off. It's difficult, but it can be done. But I think they just didn't trust themselves with the task. So they said, look, let's just give him dialogue. It's easier for everyone.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like there's one thing from the Harry Potter books that was an amazing scene in the books that they completely screwed the pooch on in the movies.
Okay.
Because at one point, I think it's either Half-Blood Prince or the final book, there's this fantastic scene where the Minister of Magic, or the former Minister of Magic at that point, is having to go to the Prime Minister of England, and the Prime Minister is effectively shitting himself with how badly things have been going in England for him. Bridges have been collapsing, a building exploded randomly, and the only thing that people are able to come to terms with is that the bridges were clearly shoddily made, and they were made under his administration. The buildings maintenance wasn't properly done, and it was probably one of the gas lines, and that also landed on him, and like bunch of disappearances in random areas around the country. And though he had devoted time and effort and resources to figuring out this shit, it just looked like he was pissing money away. So he was just getting absolutely shit on by the media. And it's just the Minister of Magic going, so, you know, that building? Yes, I've been hearing nothing about it from the media, about this and that, and how it's clearly my fault that the fucking gas line broke and it got blown up. That was actually us, you motherfucker. You know that bridge? Which one? All of them? You're fucking kidding me. And it was just this very tense and good moment of it was just two men standing in an office talking. One having to admit that they fucked up to the point where the Muggle Prime Minister is having to be read in on the magical world and all the bullshit happening in it because it's affecting the Muggles. And they completely got rid of that scene from the movies. Do you know what they replaced it with?
No.
All the events that were talked about in that scene happening all in one stretch of action, all in a chase of Harry Potter. The part that made that scene amazing in the books was it clearly had absolutely fucking nothing to do with Harry Potter directly.
Yeah.
It wasn't that these were a bunch of attempts of Death Eaters to kill Harry Potter. No, it was just, this is shit that the Death Eaters have been doing to the Muggle world because the Death Eaters have a hard-on of subjugating the Muggle world. And it lent credence to one thing that I really liked as a fan theory, which was the Ministry of Magic. That sounds like it's just part of the government, right?
Yeah.
Not the entire government. No, that's just a section of government. So if it's the Ministry of Magic, well, then it would be reporting to the government, and that would suddenly explain why they're trying to hide from the rest of the world, because the people that are in power in the magic world know, okay, yeah, we were able to subjugate humans fairly efficiently in the past, but if humans find out the wizards are real, they just need to snipe us from like half a mile away, and we won't fucking know until our brain explodes.
Well, you know what they should do? Put money back into the Ministry of Silly Walks. It's been neglected for too long.
Clearly pull funding from the Ministry of Magic after their fuck-ups, and pump that money into the Ministry of Silly Walks.
It's the only way.
Yeah. They can show us the proper way of getting through this difficult terrain. After all, they're used to stepping over things even when they aren't there and sliding under other things. They can avoid all the obstacles. And
I'm replying to Cynic in chat.
Johnny's starting a hashtag refund the ministry. And yes, it was effectively the idea that other people were coming up with, and then was kind of tacitly admitted by that scene, is that the Ministry of Magic is just part of the English government, and it's meant to keep things under wraps. So there's probably other groups like the Ministry of Magic in other countries that control their magic users, and they're doing it as a, yeah, we have a lot of power, we do cool shit, let's actually learn about the cool shit that we do, but also they have fucking guns and nukes. Yeah, we can kill them with a word. They can kill us from a goddamn half a planet away. Maybe let's not try to piss them off.
Maybe not. Maybe not. It's it does sound like the Harry Potter series got a lot better as it went, because I only ever saw the first movie and I was like, well, I don't need to see this in it ever again. This is like, it was okay. It was nothing amazing. So I just never read the books, and I never watched the rest of the series of movies. It's like the first one was not a good advertisement for the rest of them. It was like, yeah.
As with most things, the books were better than the movies.
It's usually the case.
In the case of that one scene, the books kicked the ever-living shit out of the movies.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking the movies would have been leaving teeth on the curb. Kick the ever-living shit out of them with how fantastic that section was.
But I also heard that a lot of Ron's like triumphs and like where he did really well in the books, those things were just given to Hermione because girl.
Yeah, women power.
Yeah. And so that made the character of Ron basically useless in the movies.
It made him borderline comic relief.
It made him what, sorry?
Borderline comic relief.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it was just a really, fucking really, though I do love the and just out there, the Irish like blowing shit up aspect to it, because there is one main Irish wizard, and his one gimmick was every spell that he tried to do would end in an explosion.
Nice. You should get a job with Mythbusters.
And then at the finale, his big contribution is he blows something up. His entire character is built around he's Irish and he blows things up.
Is he Northern Irish or Southern?
Fucking
They go
Protestants.
straight up. He's fucking IRA, effectively.
Did they refer to him as like a troubles maker in the book?
That would have been a bit too spot on.
Now, was the Northern the Protestants, or are those the Catholics?
So the Northern is the part that's still part of the UK. And they are more Protestant, but they still have a fuck ton of Catholics. But it was the more anglicized part of Ireland. There's a lot of the Catholic people of Northern Ireland, or not really a lot, but a very, very vocal and explosive minority of the Catholics in Northern Ireland, and some of the Protestants are the ones that ended up doing the whole IRA. Let's blow shit up.
I just like the idea of suicide bombers that instead of shouting Allahu Akbar, they go, potato!
See, the thing is that
Russet!
the IRA, unlike the Taliban, actually survived most of their bombings because they didn't do the suicide bombing as much as they did. So we made a fucking nail bomb and we popped it under a car.
Well, if you think about it, it's a different it's a different finale that you're looking at, because they're with the Taliban. You had, hey, how about you blow yourself up for this? And they're just like, no, that's fucking stupid. You know, but if you do, when you come to in the afterlife, there's going to be a bunch of virgins there to have sex with. And, well, okay. Like, I don't get it, but you know,
Muslims are gullible, is what Johnny's trying to say.
yes. Well,
When the majority of your sexual partners are four-legged and
Yes.
tend to respond to your sweet whispered nothings with meh, you tend to be a bit more willing to go, oh, so I get something that doesn't get shaved for its hide.
I forget which comedian it was, but someone was sort of scoffing and saying, 72 virgins, I'd rather have one Vegas hooker.
Yep.
Because she's, actually knows what she's doing.
And then there's also, no, it was a misprint. It's 72 Virginians. And Talek does bring up a valid point. Virgins, it's bold they're assuming that they're female.
It could just be Comic-Con, like a Magic the Gathering convention or something. It's just a whole bunch of
the size of Terry Crews.
And now I'm just getting the mental image of them dying and just being subjected to 72 fem cells.
Or even the size of, Boogie would be probably worse than the size of Terry Crews.
Yeah, when they come to, it's just the scent of loneliness and anime opening songs. Like, this is not what I was promised.
Yes, it is.
Just a bunch of crusty Dakimakuras laying around.
Make the Taliban cry like an anime fan on prom night, as they use that as make the bad guys cry like an anime fan on prom night. It was like Mighty Number 9 or some game like that.
Nice.
It was like they put that in the ad and everyone got pissed off at them, and it turned into a much bigger controversy than it actually needed to be.
Very nice.
Like, learn to take a joke. I mean, okay, they made fun of anime fans and suggested they were all virgins. So what?
And
Like,
since we're on the topic of various types of terrorists and what their rewards are, you guys, of course, heard about the Englishman that was taking hostages in the Texas synagogue, right?
I don't know. There's so many of these things that it's hard to keep them all straight. So, what was this one?
So it was just this past week where a man walked into a synagogue, apparently with a selection of various weapons, including he claimed to have had a suicide vest and a number of other things as he went in. He took a bunch of Jewish people hostage in a synagogue. And all the articles about it started by saying a man has done this.
Yes.
Very mysterious, just being a man. So they came out and they gave some more clarification. An Englishman
Oh, okay.
had done this. And then it came out that it was an Englishman who is doing this, and he's live streamed him doing this. And you can hear the English accent on the live stream. It's an interesting thing that they say he's live streaming this, and you can hear the English accent, but they don't mention any description. And this is in the English media, that it's an Englishman. This is in American media. This is in French, pretty much global media around the world. An Englishman is doing this. And then it comes out that his motivation is that this Englishman in America decided that he would go into a synagogue in Texas, kidnap a bunch of Jews in order to try and insist that a Pakistani woman be freed from custody. A Pakistani woman who is given the kind of nickname of Lady ISIS. No, it was Lady Taliban. That's what it was. Lady Taliban.
Much better. Oh, you had me worried when it was Lady ISIS, but I think we're okay now.
Yes. So, Lady Taliban. And again, they're all just saying that this is a Englishman, an Englishman, an Englishman. And then they start saying that the Englishman has been identified and that they have his name.
Is it Muhammad?
Meanwhile, it's still in the article that they're saying that they have his name. It is again and again the Englishman, the Englishman, the Englishman. And they don't actually say his name for a while. The end result was finally one of the agencies, or news agencies, decides that he'll come out and give the person's name. They still haven't described what the man looks like, but they'll give him his name, or they'll give out his name now. So, what would you say is a stereotypical English name?
Muhammad McGoatfucker.
Close, and you already know where this is going, so very tricky there.
Well, I was just guessing based on context where this was going.
Well, if it's going to be the old style name, it has to be something like.
But if you want an actual stereotypical English name, something like Reginald or Nigel.
Yeah, so this was not a good old Reggie or Nigel. This is not a situation where a niggle of Nigels ended up storming a Texas synagogue. No. This man's name was Malik Faisal Akram.
Oh, so very English.
Yeah. You're probably wondering, is this of the Berkshire Akrams, or is this of the Abergavenny Acrums. And I can understand where that confusion's coming from. As we all know, Acrum is such a common English name.
I do say that makes me want to break out the tea kettle right now.
Yeah. If Acrum is not a name that makes you just want to start humming God Save the Queen, I'm not sure what English names you're used to. But it comes out after article after article after article that his name's Acrum, and they're still refusing to show a picture of him for like an additional day and a half.
Well, I actually saw something similar to that on Twitter, where there was like some random crime. I don't know the details of it, but they had a picture of the victim and the perpetrator, and someone replied underneath, "Can you please remove this and repost without the picture of the perpetrator? We wouldn't want any racist comments," because like the guy who committed the crime was black, and it's like, "Oh, can you take this down and repost without the picture of him? That we don't want racism here."
Yeah, it was the stabbing of a college student, if I remember.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Thing that came from, and it was just the stabbing of some innocent-looking college student. The stereotypical, almost cheerleader look to her. And yeah, the response was that people might find this racist, so can you please pull it down because we don't want racists to... And the problem that I have with that is that mentality just spawns more racists.
Well, yeah.
Because if the only people that are able to talk about a problem and someone stabbing someone to death can at the very least be called a problem.
Yes.
Many might even argue that saying that it's a problem is being extremely charitable to an absurd degree.
One might.
But to be that charitable, saying that there's a problem, if you say that the only people that can even mention this problem exists are racists, then anyone who cares about this problem will, first off, get labeled a racist, and second off, the only people that they'll be able to go, so this is fucked up, right? Will be the racists who are going, yeah, that's fucked up. It shouldn't just be them. If there's a problem like that, you want fucking everyone going, okay, what the hell caused this? Why did this happen? And you want to make it so that this conversation can happen goddamn anywhere, because if it can happen goddamn anywhere, the chance of someone going to a racist and going, isn't this fucked up? Yeah, it's fucked up. We need to figure this out. So, what's your solution? I say we kill all of them.
But my reaction when I saw that on Twitter, my response was, it would have been so much better if there were 1350 likes on this tweet.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that because it was like maybe 15 short of being 1350, and they're like, oh, if only.
Mm-hmm. It's just every time that you have a situation like that, where in order to even talk about a problem, you end up functionally having to go to people that are labeled racist. You're just breeding more racist, because any person that then recognizes that, because they have fucking consciences and are able to go, yeah, it's kind of fucked up when someone's stabbed to death. They're now having to talk to racists in order to have people go, yeah, that's fucked up when people are stabbed to death. People shouldn't be stabbed to death.
Ideally not. I mean, if we could reduce the number, that would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's, did you guys see Matt Walsh on Dr. Phil? Because that was hilarious.
I did not.
I didn't either. I've heard people talk. I saw people talking about it. I haven't heard anything.
Oh, it was hilarious because they had these two non-binary people basically talking about, non-binary things. And then Matt Walsh simply says, okay, but what is a woman? Like, no one can define this. What is a woman? And then like,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's not my place to define it because I don't identify as a woman. And he's like, but you just said trans women are women. What did you mean by that? Well, it's different for every person. It means whatever. It's like, you can't answer the simple question. And
Mm-hmm.
they're getting more and more worked up. And then like today, they're all on Instagram saying they're traumatized by their experience with Matt Walsh, and they're like having depression, anxiety, and nightmares because of him. It's like all
Mm-hmm.
he did was explain basic biology to you, and then ask you to define your terms.
Yeah, and when you reach the point where, well, the different definition's different to everyone, that word's now meaningless. It
Yes.
has absolutely no meaning. And the part that is so goddamn confusing about them being willing to make it so that term has absolutely no meaning is you hear it all the time when it comes to the abortion debate.
Mhm.
You're a man. Why do you have a say in that? Isn't that rather transphobic that that's their argument?
Yes, it is. It's very transphobic.
Because
Men can be
first
pregnant
off,
too.
yeah, first off, they're assuming that you're a man. Did they ask you for your pronouns beforehand? Did they ask you how you identify? Nay, I do not think that they did. And secondly, they're assuming that only women can get pregnant. That's not very progressive of them. Clearly,
No.
they need to first off ask whether or not you identify as a man, because if they just assume that you do, that's transphobic. Then they have to figure out whether or not you actually have a womb, which, unfortunately, according to them, trying to discover if someone has a womb or not is also, in fact, transphobia, it turns out.
Yeah.
So, that entire line of argumentation is suddenly very, very problematic now, isn't it?
Oh, extremely. My favorite part of the whole thing was Matt Walsh was saying you can't have your own pronouns the same way you can't have your own adjectives. I can't demand that you refer to me as brilliant and handsome every time you mention my name because well those are my adjectives. You have to describe me that like you you can't I can't insist on that. You can't insist on pronouns. And it's just like the thought of them having to say brilliant and handsome Matt Walsh to try and avoid being inconsistent or hypocritical just made me laugh.
And the fact that these are also the same people that try to say that gender and sex are both completely socially constructed ideas, and also race is a completely socially constructed idea. Okay, this person says that he's trans Korean. No, he is not allowed to say that he's trans Korean because he is clearly not Korean. But trans, it being Korean is a socially constructed idea. Then this guy saying that he's trans Korean, so he wants you to treat him as if he is Korean, should
Yeah.
be as valid to you as the person saying that, well, yes, they might appear to be a man, whatever that means in their phraseology. They are, in fact, a woman, and you go, yes, so they need to be addressed and treated like a woman. Well, where's the argument that you could only apply that to gender and sexuality and not to race if both of the ideas are entirely socially constructed? Whereas,
I
oh,
think
God.
I think their big mistake was not embracing Rachel Dolezal. Like when she did her whole "I identify as black" thing, if they wanted to stay consistent, they should have said "and you are black." But because they didn't, then that kind of just lay bare the hypocrisy to everyone. It's like, wait, why can't she be black?
But you
If
know why they can't concede to that, right?
oh, I suppose the whole black people are oppressed and slavery and reparations kind of goes out the window if white people can claim it.
Yeah, it goes out of the window when that happens, and also you end up with the situation which we currently already have, where a study was done recently of people applying to colleges, and it's something like 60% of white men applying to college lie on their application and say that they are in fact a different race.
Yeah.
Because they know that if they do, they have an increased chance of getting accepted, and also they have increased financial support. So they do it. And if you say that race is entirely socially constructed and you okay transracial people, then there would be absolutely nothing stopping anyone from going, okay, yeah, I'm black, and getting the boost for application from being black.
One of the funniest things that came out of the whole trans women or women thing is like the crime statistics for women skyrocketed.
Yep.
It's like all of a sudden there's all these rapes being committed by women, which used to be sort of legally impossible because the English law said it has to be done with a penis. And look, women have penises now, so the rape stats for women are just like through the roof. It's like 700%, and we're like, well, this is what you asked for.
Yeah, it was, and it still is in England, and it still is in the United States, that rape is defined as the penetration of a mouth, anus, or vagina with a finger, tongue, penis, or foreign object. So the only way that a woman could have heterosexual sex, forcible heterosexual sex, what most lay people would define as rape a guy,
Yeah.
is if they stuck a thumb up his ass, then suddenly that's considered rape. But as long as she didn't stick anything up his ass or force anything into his mouth, it could not be considered rape.
Yeah, it's sexual assault at worst.
Yep. And there are situations that have happened where women have held men at gunpoint, at knife's edge, at machete's edge, insert various bladed implement or other weapon here, force them to have sex, and their charge was kidnapping and unlawful payment.
And just quickly, Spudgun in chat says it was Lady Al Qaeda, is not Lady ISIS or Lady Taliban. So there you go.
Lady Al Qaeda. I knew it was one of those absolute groups of scumfucks.
Yes. Yeah, I think Spud might be a little behind because I think he's only just up to that part of the stream. But yeah, no, thanks, Spud. It's always good to get the facts on these things.
But yeah, it's one of those things that it is hilarious that they've set their standard at a position which is entirely impossible to actually defend using their own rationale. Which is why they really hated the one guy who said that he's trans-Korean.
Yeah. There was just a whole bunch of traffic. Sorry, it was very, very noisy. But yeah, no, the whole you can identify as anything you want was rightly ridiculed by the whole attack helicopter meme, which is why they hate it so much.
Yeah, and I still find it hilarious that there are people going, "Oh, it's the same joke." And I'm going, yeah, it's the same joke because it's the same position, which
Yeah.
This joke shows how ridiculous it is in the most efficient manner. Why would they go, okay, yeah, this is the most efficient way of pointing out the bullshit, but we need to come up with new material. These aren't comedians. These are just people having a laugh at how stupid you are.
Yeah. There's a guy from the Babylon B. I forget his name, but his Twitter profile is frantically trying to come up with a third conservative joke because everyone says the Babylon B's only got the 2 jokes, which is, I identify as, and did you assume my gender?
Nice. It's just such a... It amuses me that is the constant refrain whenever that's said, though. Well, can't you get a new joke? And I'm going, these aren't people trying to come up with new material for a full set. These are just people going, you can tell that that's stupid, because if that isn't stupid, then this is a valid argument.
So Kyle Mann, that's his name, the Babylon B guy. I knew I'd find it. But yeah, he's working tirelessly to find a third conservative joke, which I thought was pretty good.
Very nice. Yeah, it's kind of like looking at people that are going, no, the people that say that evolution isn't real are fucking ridiculous because here's all the evidence for evolution, and going, oh yeah, you keep on giving the same evidence for evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because it's the same argument.
But can you explain why there's no crocodile?
Yes, because that would actually be an indication that our evolutionary model is fucked.
It's
Imagine
Okay.
conglomerating all those species into one.
But no, what's his face? Ray Comfort and Kurt Cameron were very insistent that there should be a crocodile, and the fact that there isn't is proof that evolution is nonsense.
Except they're so separated in the cladogram that it would be evidence that our current logistics is entirely wrong if it did exist, because it would mean that they would have to be much closer in their evolutionary origin.
I think Ray Comfort knows what he's talking about, saying. This is the guy who thinks a banana is proof of God, so he's pretty smart.
While masturbating that said banana.
You just trust him because of his accent. Admit it, Terry. There's some naked nationalism there.
Is he Australian or is he Kiwi? I can never remember. I think Ken Ham is the Aussie and Ray Comfort is a Kiwi, I think.
He's from one of the upside downs. Isn't that close enough? He can at least see eye to eye rather than looking at my feet.
He's a Kiwi.
Okay, I thought so. But yeah, I think Ken Ham is the Australian one. He's the guy who had the Noah's Ark museum.
Let's see, is Ken Ham Australian?
I got a picture for you in case. Let's see here. Which one is it?
Yes, Ken Ham is apparently an Australian, and I just still find it endlessly amusing that someone who looks so much like the missing link that he's constantly demanding is the one so questioning of it.
In case you're wondering what Ken Ham looks like.
Ken Ham is the Answers in Genesis guy. He has the Creationist Museum that sort of like proves that, God created the world in 7 days and the Earth is like 6,000 years old, not several billion.
And had or tried to make the Noah theme park.
Yes. And I think it's funny that even if he'd succeeded, he wouldn't have proved anything because using modern technology to build an ark is very different from using, 2000 BC technology to build the same ark that can house 2 of every species on the planet.
Mm-hmm. And wasn't it even better than just using modern technology? If I remember correctly, it was using modern technology and modern construction material.
Yeah.
It wasn't even just like, yeah, we're building it all out of the period appropriate material. Just rather than lifting it all by hand, we're lifting it with cranes. That would be one thing because.
Oh no, it wasn't even made out of wood. I don't think.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That it's like, yeah, so we have a steel reinforced hull.
But aside from that, it's just like the one in the Bible.
Only bolted down.
Yeah. But I mean, it would be interesting to visit just to see what. Because I don't even know what their argument is for why this makes sense. It's so absurd on the face of it that.
It is literally because Bible tells me so.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, the Bible said so is their entire argument?
That's functionally, when it comes to the Noah's Ark idea, it is functionally the Bible tells me so. And then they try to post hoc justify it. So they'll say, like, the Grand Canyon's clearly just cut by water all in one go. Just a massive surge of water ripped out the Grand Canyon.
That's certainly a claim.
And they'll try to use things that have proper and well validated bits of, well, not really bits, but complete justifications. Like there's certain situations where you'll have a tree that runs through a couple of strata in specific areas, and those tend to be areas that are really prone to flooding. So it has much faster build than other areas and much more minor build than other areas, as well as there's the trying to remember the proper term. It's not thrust, it's something else, where there's specific geological conditions that can cause one strata to jut up into another strata in a specific location.
Okay.
It's all absolutely just what the fuck when you listen to their justifications.
At least, like Ray Comfort and Kirk Cameron were like saying, we don't believe in evolution because we think a crocoduck should exist. Like, okay, I can understand you have very bad information, but if you're working from the premise a crocoduck should exist, then the lack of one is evidence towards your conclusion. Whereas the Bible says so. As
Ken Ham has some of that same sort of stuff of a crocoduck should exist, but it doesn't. And we don't see anything outside of what the Bible says that we should see, ergo the Bible's right, effectively. It's all a circular thing of this is what the Bible tells us.
Yeah.
And I don't believe the things that say things outside the Bible. So the Bible's correct.
Flawless argument. I don't know why I doubted him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to. That was actually my introduction to YouTube. Was all the atheist arguments against this stuff. Sort of Armored Skeptic, T.J. Kirk, Sargon used to do a bit of it. Thunderfoot.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of drifted from there into the anti-SJW stuff. Then I found Monkey, and then I found, well, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are.
It was actually I was watching TJ Kirk because it was sort of, I didn't want my SJW friends knowing that I was questioning the orthodoxy, basically. Mm-hmm. So if they're like, why are you watching that horrible sexist pig? It's just an atheism channel. It's like I'm just in it for the atheism. I don't know what you're upset about. And that probably wouldn't have worked. But it was like, it felt safer to watch that than to watch someone who's like mundane Matt, who's just like, fuck the SJWs, they're a bunch of cunts.
But they would have told you, if you want really good atheism content that is also in accordance with our beliefs, have you tried Steve Shives?
And I actually was, I wasn't subscribed to him, but I did watch Steve Shives'
Back when you
videos.
did the atheist read.
And Steve Shives actually read one of my questions on his Ask Me Anything segment on his show.
And then he blocked you.
No, he had already blocked. He'd already blocked me on Twitter, but like he doesn't know the names of the people he blocks. It's just a program. So when he saw me ask a question in his comment section, he's just like, "Oh, I'll answer that." And so, yeah, I just said, if you've disabled likes and dislikes, why do you keep asking people to like the video? Like, what's the point? And he actually did answer. So, credit to him. Because basically he didn't want the trolls to get the satisfaction of disliking the video. So they could still dislike it, but it wouldn't show them a number, and he thought that would spoil their fun.
He was just ahead of the curve when it comes to YouTube.
Yeah, by 6 years, something like that.
But yeah, the thing that was so
bald head under a hat
and wet butthole lips.
Yes.
The thing that still drives me crazy is so many of the people that went completely fucking insane had some really good material early on. Like, Shives actually had some really good shit early on when he was willing to talk to other people and when he was actually looking at the ideas of the people that he disagrees with.
Yeah.
He had... Are you familiar with his Atheist Reads series from ages ago?
I don't think I ever saw any of those, but I know that he did them. I never saw them though.
Yeah, so for those who aren't familiar with what that was, Steve Shives would read various creationist and religiously inclined books, and he would go through them, and if there was a argument that they gave in the book, he would go, okay, so is this argument valid? And he would go through and explain why the answer ends up being correct, but the thought process is a bit iffy, or this one, the thought process is more correct than the answer that they end up coming to, and it would go through all the different permutations of that effectively, calling it when they actually said something that was correct, and also going, no, this is wrong for XYZ when it was incorrect.
On a somewhat tangent, you know what I would pay good money to see? You versus Monkey on an evolution debate, because he has his ridiculous notion that evolution is just retardation. And I would just... Your brain would explode, I think.
Yeah, it probably would. It would be amusing, but it would probably be absolutely infuriating at the same time.
Because I think I remember you super chatting way back in the day, trying to correct him on his misguided evolutionary beliefs, and it not going too well.
Yeah, because he didn't get what I was saying in the comment. It was just one of those, come the fuck on, why, Monkey, why?
To be completely honest, I think part of it is deliberately misunderstanding.
Oh, yeah.
I love Monkey, but he does tend to do that if he's, backed into a corner by someone.
He'll dig his heels in, and maybe later on he'll think about it and go, you know what, that person was right. But he will not concede in the moment.
No, he will not.
Unless it's like outright.
And even then, you have to effectively be able to go, Monkey, you said that this person said this in this specific clip. Here's the clip. You can hear the words. They never said that.
But like, this is a guy who still insists that cereal is soup. So I mean, some people you just can't get to.
Mm-hmm. Because in order for it to be a soup, it has to be broth-based.
I remember Pete from like Peter Still.
Yeah, I like that
He
one.
did a video. It's like he asked Alexa, "Is cereal soup?" and it just said no. Like it gave a definition of soup, and Pete goes, "Yeah, so no, it's not."
Nice.
No, that was great. I would have never thought about doing something like that.
Yeah,
Well,
in order for
you did do something similar. I forget the subject, but you just played the first half of a clip and said exactly, and it just ended there.
in order for it to be a soup, it has to be broth-based. If it isn't broth-based, then it's, by definition, not a soup. Milk is not a broth.
It's a breakfast soup, Sanguine.
No,
Well-
because it would still have to be broth-based. Now, if you have like chicken stock that you kind of reduce down and then you add in some milk in order to bring it up to the volume that you need and the consistency that you need, and then you added that to cereal, then yeah, you will have just made a soup cereal, or a cereal soup rather, but that's fucking weird. Why did you use a broth that you then, after concentrating the broth, diluted it back down with milk in order to add it to fucking cereal? You weird son of a bitch.
Well, this is Monkey. I wouldn't be surprised if he does that just to prove a point.
Add some better than bouillon to his fucking milk.
Ha, technically soup. Fuck you, Sanguine.
Then it would be. And I will freely admit, if you make it a broth base, then yeah, it is suddenly a soup. But milk in and of itself is not a broth. Therefore, it is not a soup. And broth, is the necessary and sufficient condition of making a soup, because the most basic soup that you can make is a clear broth.
It's what was the other question he used to ask? Oh, is it a hot dog is a sandwich or something like that?
Yeah, hot dog, is it a sandwich? And that one I'm more willing to go. Technically, it can be.
I would consider a hot dog to be a sandwich. It's
Yeah.
basically
Hey guys, welcome
just
back to Now.
like what is it, a Frankfurt
Hey, guys.
bread with
Mhm.
other stuff like sauce or cheese or whatever you want to put on your hot dog. But yeah, it's basically a Frankfurt sandwich in my mind.
Yeah, which is why I'm saying that, yeah, I can easily concede a hot dog would be a sandwich.
But I don't see the argument for a hot dog not being a sandwich.
I could see an argument, but it wouldn't be that valid of one. Because the main argument that I could see is someone trying to claim that a basic hot dog wouldn't be a sandwich because that is not a sufficient number of ingredients. But that wouldn't really fly, because then you'd have to also say that a grilled cheese isn't a sandwich.
And you'd also have to say that a Vegemite sandwich is not a sandwich if you don't put butter on it,
Mm-hmm.
which is an absurd notion.
And I
Like,
could
if
also
you-
see someone try to claim that, no, it has to be 2 pieces of bread, but that isn't that justified either.
No,
Because
you just fold you can put a
hoagies.
sausage. Well, you can put a sausage wrapped around, like wrap a piece of bread around a sausage and eat it that way, and that's sort of a sausage sandwich.
Yeah, you can wrap 2 pieces of bread around a sausage, and that would meet the justification, but it would still be considered a hot dog if it's a hot dog that has 2 pieces of bread wrapped around it. So, like I said, the arguments that I could see wouldn't be that valid for why a hot dog isn't a sandwich, which is
Yeah.
why I thought that was always a fairly uncontroversial take.
Yeah.
Well,
But,
what about pigs in a blanket?
Well, what the pigs do on their own time is none of my business. Which is my way of saying, what the hell is that? I've never heard
Pigs in a
of it.
blanket is you take a hot dog, or the best version of pigs in a blanket, because you can do this without the cheese, but it's so much better with the cheese. You take a hot dog, you put a vertical gash in the hot dog, running lengthwise, not quite all the way through, and not even really separating it out so that you can fold it and press it down or anything, or unfold it and press it down, but just enough so you can stick a bit of cheese in. Then you wrap dough, like a biscuit dough. Some people use a croissant dough or something like that, but you wrap it around the hot dog, and then you bake that son of a bitch in an oven until the pastry's golden brown. You pull it out, you nosh down. So it's a sausage baked into a biscuit dough or croissant dough or puff pastry dough, anything like that.
Okay, so now that I know, like, I've actually eaten that. I just didn't know that was what it was called.
Yep.
I don't think that's a sandwich, and it's not bread that it's surrounded in, is it?
I would say because it's a pastry that it wouldn't count as a sandwich. Because to me, it has to be a bread rather than a pastry.
Yeah, well, that's my point. It's not bread. It's a pastry, and it's not a sandwich.
Well, what's the difference between a bread and a pastry? Because the pastry would seem more like a
pastry and bread are similar, but they aren't the same because pastry is flakier, and it doesn't. Or a lot of pastries don't involve yeast, for instance. Whereas most breads, unless you're talking flatbreads, and a lot of flatbreads, I still wouldn't consider a sandwich. Like, I wouldn't consider a taco a sandwich. I'd consider a taco its own thing. So,
I consider a taco sandwich a sandwich.
Is that taco meat in bread?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's
taco sandwich. But for it to be a sandwich, to me, it has to be leavened bread as the outside of the sandwich. That can be in the form of rolls, that can be in bread slices, that can be in a myriad of different forms. Pastries would be like pie crust. Would you consider a double layer pie, so a topped and bottomed pie, a sandwich, Johnny? Would a chicken pot pie be a sandwich?
No, but it's making me hungry.
There's actually a video on College Humor, Everything is a Sandwich, and they basically say the answer to everything we've discussed is yes, that is in fact a sandwich.
Nice.
So he's like, he's eating a taco. He goes, wow, a taco is a sandwich. And then he has like a pie, and he goes, also a sandwich. And he's like just going through everything. He's like, he's just realizing this is a sandwich too. Oh my god, everything's a sandwich.
Yeah, see, I would say that if it's leavened bread, then you end up with a sandwich. If it's unleavened bread, then you end up with a wrap. And if it is pastry, then you end up with a number of different things depending on the type and style of pastry. And I think the one bastard of them all is the croissant.
What's that?
The croissant is a croissant, which is a pastry
Yes.
that is split in half, and then it is used as if it was bread around a sandwich.
Okay.
And it's called the croissant. It makes French people cry, I'm pretty sure.
I like it already.
Yeah, that is the one redeeming quality of a croissant.
Yeah, I was against the idea until I thought about the French people crying. Now I'm on board.
Yes. But that is
Someone send a picture of it to Sam.
Oh, my tear duct.
That is the one kind of crossover of the sandwich and pastry is the sandwich. Because it's kind of one, kind of the other. It is the missing link between pastry-based sandwiched goods and bread-based sandwiched goods.
So you just reminded me of another college humor video where this guy overpronounces foreign words. He insists on calling it croissant. Every time, like he'll talk normal English until he gets to a foreign word and then just pronounce it. It's like I was gonna have a croissant from the local bakery. He's like,
I've given Prospero so much shit over that because Prospero has taken a couple different languages at various points. So Spanish is the one that she's done the most. And if she encounters a Spanish word, quite often she will pronounce it in the Spanish form. And I'm going, no, stop that shit. You're speaking fine English the rest of the time. When you see jalapeno, you don't suddenly put on the proper accent and say jalapeno. You just fucking say jalapeno.
Yeah. It's he's talking about bands and he goes Nirvana, like he tries to do an Indian accent. He goes, they're an American band. He's like, but it's an Indian one. And like they're getting into this big fight over every time he overpronounces it.
Yeah.
And he goes, it ends with, I'm sorry, offending you was never my goal.
Yeah, it's kind of like how there's certain Chinese words that I will sometimes do it with, mainly when I'm trying to get someone's name correctly.
Right.
Like if I say General, so the chicken dish, where it's General TSAO. How do you pronounce that?
TSAO.
It's a common Chinese dish. Johnny might be more familiar. I'm not sure if it's the same name in Australia.
I would say Tsao would be my pronunciation for TSAO.
Yes, it is Tsao. A lot of people just pronounce it as General Tsao's. I will pronounce it as General Tsao's.
Man, half the places I get it from, they don't even spell it right.
How do they spell it?
TSO.
Yeah,
that's what I that's the only way I've ever seen it spelled. I didn't even know there was meant to be an A in it.
So's, Tsao's, I think it's supposed to be Tsao was the general's name rather than Seoul, but it might be Seoul. So, yeah, you have that word, and a lot of people will just say General So's. I'll put the T because it's supposed to have a T sound to it.
Yeah.
But if I really wanted to be correct, let me quickly double check what the accent mark on Thor's name was. General Thor. What accent mark is it? It's named after Zhou. And what is Zhou pinyin, so I can see the accent mark. So, that's fucking strange. Why do you not have the accent marks on his name? That is really strange. Normally they have the accent marks. Let me look for it somewhere else.
But it reminds me of the Discworld series of books where there's a location and it's spelled DJELIBEYBI. And like when you're reading it, like you kind of just gloss over it. But when you look at it and try and pronounce it, it's Jelly Baby. And just
nice.
The fact that there's a country called Jelly Baby is just hilarious to me.
Mm-hmm. Let me look up the pinion for it because it's not showing me the pinion. There we go. This has the pinion. So the pinion is 做长 or 做长汤. So if I wanted to be really goddamn pedantic about it, I would pronounce it General Tool, because technically it isn't even supposed to be Tool or Toal, which I've seen it spelled both ways. It's supposed to be Tool, which is Z-U-O with a falling, rising tonal mark on the O.
And,
So,
and just for the same people in chat, he means a Z, not a Z.
So if I was going to do the over-pronouncing like so many people end up doing, I wouldn't even just do the which it has a TS, so TS automatically becomes I would go Tool. Yes, I'll have General Tools chicken rather than General Tools chicken.
Yeah, well, that's basically what Mike Trapp was doing in the college humor video. He's like, I haven't seen it in such a long time. I can't remember the specific examples, but he's like, I'll have some linguine instead of just saying it normally. And karaoke. He does a Japanese accent for that.
Yeah, the only time that I'll really be pedantic, like I said, is when I'm trying to say, this is what this person's name is. Because the names you should try to pronounce as accurately as the name, or as your vocal cords will allow if you actually give a damn about pronouncing the name correctly. If it's some asshole, then you aren't going to devote any time to it. But if it's someone that you actually are looking at and you're going, okay, this person's somewhat respectable, then you tend to make a bit more of a go of it.
You just call him Bruce, mate.
Not everyone's Aussie.
But you still call him Bruce. Because it gets confusing when there's like someone named Michael who's not named Bruce. Then what are you meant to do with that? So no, everyone's Bruce.
So I'm surprised that you don't just default to everyone's Digger.
Well, I was just quoting the Monty Python sketch. So
yep.
So everyone's Bruce. Except the girls, they're Sheilas.
Yep. But yeah, it's just one of those things that if it's a name, then yeah, sometimes if it's a proper name, I'll try to give a proper pronunciation. And then the only other time that I really use proper, the only language that I've really had any sort of facility in, at least thus far, is Mandarin outside of English. So the only time that I'll ever use Mandarin is if I'm at a Chinese restaurant where I know the servers speak Mandarin. Then rather than saying, yes, I'll have the Chinese dumplings, I'll just say, I'll have the jiazi.
Okay.
Because jiazi is dumpling.
I do all my ordering online, so all I've got to do is click the option that is the one I want. So I don't have to pronounce anything.
Yeah. And I do that mainly just because there's normally like 12 different types of dumplings. So if I say jiazi, that means a specific type of dumpling. It's the steamed dumplings are jiazi.
The real reason to do it is because if you order in English, they'll give you the English menu where all the prices are tripled.
True. But yeah, jiazi, baozi, absolutely amazing. Jiazi being dumplings, baozi being steamed buns.
Steam is good. Steam is a great thing. More food should be based on video game stores.
good God, do I love Bowser.
And good God, do I love Steam, so I think we're on equal footing.
How the hell did that vote that I saw you put up go from being 50-50 to 100% Sal?
I think you can change your vote.
Yeah, I was just amazed that everyone changed their vote to Sal.
I closed the poll because I don't have a preference and I can't see what the results are.
Right
it's
now
back
it's
to
50-50
Okay.
with 2 votes. It's my obligatory weekly poll.
Poll of the evening.
There's no real scientific basis behind this one, so
No.
Oh, speaking of, did you see the recent poll out of China? And I say poll with double air quotations.
No.
The most disliked country, according to China, is Canada.
Nice.
They've tried so hard to suck up to China. The couple times that they've gone against China have just completely undone all of their attempts to suck up to it. So the Chinese government dislikes them the most. Because that's the thing, I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with pulling out of China. Do you guys know anything about pulling out of China?
China being the wrestler, and you're talking about her boyfriend not wanting to knock her up.
Slightly different. So, you know how most polls done globally are done by large polling companies like Gallup and Rasmussen and shit like that, right?
Yeah.
China doesn't allow any of these companies within its borders.
That doesn't surprise me.
So what China does is it makes out of whole cloth these internal polling companies. And it is exactly as shady as that shit sounds. Where they are just kind of going, okay, what's the party position? Okay, we'll say that damn near everyone's with the party position 100%. And the rest of them are with the party position 90%.
Nice and balanced.
Yep. So that's how they do their polls. So there was the poll done by, I think it was Gallup not too long ago, in a bunch of different countries that was effectively asking what do each of these countries view as the most favorably looked upon and the least favorably looked upon nations.
I'm guessing China was the most favorable.
And they did this in a bunch of different countries. So China went, well, Gallup has just done that poll, so we need to do the Chinese version of that poll. So they contacted up one of their empty suits of a Japanese polling company. And this one is particularly empty of a suit because the company that they decided to do it through has a website that, you know how when you make a website, there's that faux Latin kind of stuffed in different boxes for you to then replace with the actual text that you want?
Yeah, the Ipsum something. I forget the.
Yeah, it had that faux Latin on like half the pages of the official company website of this polling company.
Lorem ipsum. That's the phrase I was trying to think of.
Yes. So it had that bit of Latin, faux Latin wording in about half the site.
Nice.
Because they set up a web page a couple of weeks before they did this poll. They only half set up the web page, and then they published the results of the poll and never bothered to fill in the rest of the web page.
But why would you?
The company history on the web page is just faux Latin.
That's quite professional of them.
Yeah.
But, I think I've got an idea for Johnny's next poll. Who invaded Spain in the 8th century? See how many people think it's the Moors and how many people know it's the Moops.
And I think he's about to start typing because I heard him click and start.
I closed the poll.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 50-50. There you go.
Yeah. Both so and so. Yeah, like I said, if I wanted to be that pedantic in my pronunciation, I would always pronounce it Zor. General Zor's chicken.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm gonna end up calling it because I'm starting to fade out a little bit.
Not a problem.
Plus, I have to wake up early again, so that's probably a good idea
You've got to
too.
get scanned like the cat that you are.
Yes, I must make like a cat and scan.
And there's a misprint, apparently. What's the misprint from exactly, Terry? I have to know before we end up signing off.
Okay, so in Seinfeld, George plays Trivial Pursuit with the Bubble Boy, and the question is, who invaded Spain in the 8th century? The Bubble Boy says that's a joke, it's the Moors. And George Costanza says, no, it's the Moops, and on the card there's a misprint, and the answer is actually written as the Moops, and they get into a fight about it.
Fair enough.
So, Keith got the reference, I see.
Yep.
All right. And, yeah, so parting thoughts with you, Sanguine?
I'll leave off with my standard of if you're passionate about something, make sure that you devour it. Don't let it devour you.
All right. And Terry?
It's Moops.
And I'll go with, I didn't know it was sow. I thought it was sow.
Well, you thought it was so rather than saw.
I don't know. It's all the same to me. Racist quote of the day.
Let's call the whole thing off.
But yeah, on that note, the zoo's closed. You guys have a good night.
Everyone.
Have a good night, all.
This time I'll click the right button.